everyone. I'm Tanya Rivero. Thank you for joining us. Republican Dan Bishop has won North Carolina's special election. Bishop will now represent the state's 9th Congressional District. The Charlotte lawyer won a 10-way primary to clinch his party's nomination earlier this year. This reliably red district will remain in GOP hands. It has been a Republican seat since the early 1960s. This race garnered national attention. President Trump held a rally for Bishop the night before the election. Bishop linked his success to the White House's agenda during his victory speech.
The White House, Republican leadership, and all our Republican and conservative partners were there for us every step of the way because they all understood what was at stake in this election. Last night, I told President Trump we weren't tired of winning. Are we tired of winning? We're not tired of winning. We're just getting started winning because we're seeing the successful results of President Trump's agenda.
And President Trump did appear to take credit for Bishop's victory. On Twitter Tuesday, he wrote in part, quote, Bishop was down 17 points 3 weeks ago. He then asked me for help. We changed his strategy together, and he ran a great race. On the other side of the aisle, McCready had been on the campaign trail for over 2 years. He came within only 900 votes of clinching this seat during the midterms. The former Marine thanked supporters in Charlotte after his defeat.
It's okay to be exhausted. I know I am. I'm running on fumes, y'all. But it is not okay to give up. Our mission to bring this country together, this was never a mission that could be accomplished in a single election. We didn't win this campaign tonight, but there is no doubt in my mind that our efforts over the last 27 months moved our country forward.
And to break this down, let's bring in Anthony Salvanto. He is the Director of Elections and Surveys for CBS News. Hi, Anthony. So can you break down the results for us? What can we pull out of this?
Yeah. During the course of the night, right at the start, we saw the Democrat go up in the vote count. And that was really because of absentee and early vote, which end up making up about half of the votes cast.
Why is it the case that absentee and early votes tend to skew Democratic?
Because, A, the Democrats put a lot of effort into turnout via absentee ballots, and that's often because if their voters can't make it to the polls on an election day, it's more convenient. In fact, throughout the country, wherever we've seen states allow more absentee and early voting, people have taken advantage of it, especially as people work longer hours, maybe work different shifts, and that can be a way that they can get their vote in without having to stand in line on Election Day.
But why does that tend to skew Democratic? Are you saying that these are more sort of working class voters? Why specifically? Okay.
Yes. There's not only that, but also you get voters who are, the Democrats target people to say you can vote absentee and early, and they've got that turnout machine going in that way.
And Republicans don't do that as much.
Well, Republicans have been trying to ramp up theirs as well. However, older voters tend to vote more on Election Day, and older voters tend to skew Republican. And so that also makes things go that way.
Right.
And look, I don't doubt that as we go forward, the president was there. It was there yesterday. The spin will probably be that the president got turnout up for the Republicans.
Well, we see the president's already taken some credit for it.
He will certainly. I don't doubt that he certainly will. And look, so that Election Day turnout, that's always a bit of a question mark going in. But, I saw in the number patterns tonight that definitely trended toward the Republican and ultimately put him marginally over the top.
Are votes still being counted, or is this a final tally? No.
It's not a final tally. It's enough to clear, I think, obviously it clears the threshold for him winning and most likely the recount threshold as well. So there are always some votes left to count.
But he's winning by a bigger margin than the Republican ran in that last race that was voided.
Yes, that one was like 900 votes or something, and this one obviously is just over 4,000. Still a very high turnout election for a special, but then again, one that had an awful lot of attention and an awful lot of money spent on it. You know, one of the bigger things here as we watch the votes come in too that is somewhat instructive is, number one, this was a much closer race than even we saw in this district, this very Republican district, in, say, 2016. And you also saw this pattern where the Democrat did well in the places we expected a Democrat to do well. This would be Charlotte, North Carolina, but then out towards the suburbs and the more rural parts of the district where Republicans expect to do well, he did very well. And so in that case, he sort of beat the Democrat small county by small county to offset the Democrat doing well.
Is that telling you that Republicans are still, that there's a stronghold in those rural areas, that President Trump is still very popular there?
That is correct.
Yeah.
And that's correct not only there, but it's correct throughout the country. In rural areas, that's going to be big. That's going to be an important part of the president's 2020 reelection strategy. I do not doubt that, even though, look, on election night 2020, we will not likely be talking about NC9, but we will be talking about whether or not the president can keep that kind of strong turnout in rural parts of states, even if the Democrats, can boost their turnout maybe in cities and in suburbs. But that's one of the ways the president will try and offset it.
And how was voter turnout overall for this?
For a special election, quite strong.
What were we talking about, 30%? Or we don't know yet?
It could be. It's just about what we expected. And in fact, in some places in Mecklenburg, it's running at about 1.2, which is about 20% more than even we expected it to be. So it is strong for a special election. Once all the votes are counted, we'll have an exact figure on that. It could be around 50%. We'll have to look once all the votes are in. But I do think that for a special election, it was reasonably high. It's just a question of where within the district it turns out.
Is there anything else you can tease out from this that will tell us anything about 2020?
Yeah. Well, I think going into 2020, we want to think of this as continuing the patterns of 2018, which is to say there were Republican districts that Democrats got closer. Many of them they won. They won 40 seats. Some of them they came up short. But there are particular constituencies that you definitely want to watch. For example, we talk about suburban women, but there are white women who hold college degrees. The Democrats in 2018 won them by 20 points. That's something that you're going to see if they can replicate in 2020, would give them a better advantage, or will the Republicans go back and cut back into a margin in groups like that? And I think suburban districts like this one are going to be one of the things to watch.
Do you think the race is going to be won or lost in the suburbs?
Well, yes, because there's the suburbs are most of the electorate, right? But I do think also that within the suburbs, you're going to be looking at those extended suburbs as we get out to rural areas. These are Americans who are living in places that, they have longer commutes. They're a little bit further out from the cities. Those places have also diversified. And that's one of the other things to watch.
Absolutely.
You don't just think of suburbs. Suburbs are diverse now. Suburbs have an influx of different people, not just from different places in the state, but from different places all over the country as people move around. Those are places that, there's not one kind of suburb anymore.
There's movement there. There's movement there. All right, Anthony Salvanto, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us. Earlier, I spoke with Nick Oxner, the chief investigative reporter for our CBS affiliate in Charlotte, WBTV. Nick was at Bishop's election night headquarters.
Crowd here has been energetic, as you might imagine, and then the surprise call to the White House from the stage here, a little out of the box, unexpected, but that's what happened.
What more can you tell us about when the atmosphere changed? When was it clear that to that room that Bishop was the winner?
Sure. So things really started to change a little bit when Bishop initially took the lead. That's because we saw more votes come in from Republican stronghold Union County, which is where we're standing tonight. And then he never really lost the lead. We were waiting late this evening because of the Charlotte precincts were late reporting. And so really the question was, did Bishop get enough votes in Union County to offset some of the more purple or Democrat voters in Mecklenburg County? Turns out the answer to that is yes. The other thing, Tanya, that's worth noting and pointing out is Bishop's exceedingly strong showing in a Democrat stronghold in the eastern part of the district. Robeson County typically is a shoe-in win for Democrats to win that county and drive up the score here, but that's not what happened tonight. Bishop only lost by about 200 votes there.
So how big has turnout been in general tonight? Have you got a sense of that?
Yes, more than 30%, which when you think about this as a special election, other than voters in the city of Charlotte, which was minuscule, this was the only election going on for voters today. So you look at a 30+% election today. And you see high turnout in Cumberland County, which Dan Bishop won today, that McCready won in 2018. That's where Trump visited Fayetteville, Fort Bragg last night. You look in places like Robeson County and around there, turnout was high. Vice President Mike Pence here in Union County yesterday, turnout was high today as well. And so you have to imagine that the extra last-minute push from the White House really helped propel Bishop over the edge.
All right, Nick Oxner there at Dan Bishop's campaign headquarters. Thank you so much for reporting on that.